The question is, did we shoot this on film or did we shoot this digitally? And the Super 8 portion at the beginning, I had a couple people say, man, what plugin is that? That looks really good. The plugin is called buying Super 8 cameras on eBay and shooting it on film before Dwayne's, which was the last lab in the country that could process the film, shut down. So that was shot on film. The rest of the movie was shot on Canon digital SLRs. So we used two 5D Mark IIs, and we rented a 7D at one point. And so despite the love for analog, I wish that we could have shot this on Polavision, but that wouldn't have worked. So this was shot digitally. Thank you. The question is, how did I get involved in this project? I think I was drafted. This was something that when Polaroid, so I have a sort of a different career as a photographer using Polaroid film, and so when Polaroid announced that they were going to stop making the film in 2008, that was a pretty big blow to me. And it bothered me that I would meet people who weren't necessarily interested in instant photography, but just friends. And I'd say, yeah, did you hear this terrible news? And Polaroid's not making film anymore. And they would just look at me and say, yeah, so what? Didn't they go out of business a long time ago? And it bothered me that was going to be the send-off, that it was just, yeah, well, what's the next thing? And so the original idea for this movie, this probably makes me sound like an inconsiderate, horrible person, but the original idea for this movie was I just wanted everybody else to be as upset about this as I was. So we kicked it around a little bit, and after about 6 months, my wife and I decided to start a production company and started buying equipment and arranging interviews and flying all over the world. And then we got lucky. About 6 or 8 months into that was when the Impossible Project announced that they were going to undertake this crazy idea to try to recreate instant film. So the story changed from being a long eulogy to potentially having a happy ending. And so I feel very privileged that I got to be along for the ride and document that. So the question is about the factory and how there's only 14 employees, and what do you do with these machines if they break down, and do we see anything like that? And what I can tell you about being in the factory is a couple things. One is I felt like I was at Santa's workshop at the North Pole, but it's weird. Everybody's at work, and it looks like it's abandoned because it's so enormous that you can be there half the day and not see anyone, and it's because they're someplace else. But when we were there, they hadn't made anything yet. I mean, they would turn the machines on from time to time to run some short tests, and it was actually a big deal for them to turn that machine on for us. That took them about 3 or 4 hours just to get it turned on. I mean, it was just, there's not just a big switch like you'd see in a cartoon. So it was a huge deal, and because they were just doing that, nothing else was running. You saw that line of 9 of them, and they were just dormant. But the machines themselves were estimated to they would have cost about $600 million had they been destroyed to try to recreate them. So basically, if they'd not come in at the last 11th hour and bought the factory, it would have been economically impossible to maintain instant photography. Well, thank you again for coming.